Okay, so let's add a score that will increase every time we collect an apple. So again, what am I going to do? I was going to say I was going to copy and paste, but actually I don't think I will this time. I'm going to not be that lazy, because what we want to do is we want to add a score in a very similar way that we can add the sprites. And this time I do want a variable for it. And so first I'm going to add like this. So you've got the round brackets and then the square brackets. So you can set things out like this if it's easier. So these are used for an array, which is kind of like a list of information. If you're new to coding, that might be new to you, but something you'll get familiar with. And this time we're not adding a sprite, we're not adding a picture, we're going to be adding some text for the score. And I'm just going to have score as 0. And then we're going to have a position for it. So I kind of want it somewhere up here. So let's say, I'm not sure, like 100 in on the X. And then remember we're coming down, so this is 0. So coming down maybe something like 30 from the top. And we're not finished, but I'm just going to reload. Let's have a look. Okay, so it's a little big. It's taking up the entire top of the screen there. So one thing we can do, if I come back into this text, then put a comma and use these curly brackets, now we can set a size for it. Maybe let's try with 28 and reload. Okay, that's looking a bit better. It's probably about the right position, I'd say. Not too bad. But all we have now, is this text, this score. It's nothing to do, this is just showing the score on the screen. It's not actually anything to do with keeping count of the score. So one thing I can do here, if we add in some of these curly brackets, I'm going to add a value for the score, which is going to start as 0. So when we collect apples, it's this value that's going to be changing rather than the entire score itself. We're going to be just changing this value. So that's why this object is a constant, but this value part that's kind of inside it, that's the bit that we're going to be changing. So let's see how that can work. So if I just refresh on this, you won't see any difference. Just add a space to make that look neat. We don't see any difference. So this value is being held in memory, kind of in the background, and the thing that you see is the actual text. So if I change this value to 10 and reload, it still says 0 because it says 0 there. It's not that this is automatically going to go there. We'll see how we do that later. So if I reload now and it says 10, it says 10 because that is 10. So let's set everything back to 0. And let's look at how we increase the score when we collide with the apple. So we need to come back down to our collide code. So first, remember we're destroying whatever we hit, if it's labeled food. And now we want to increase our score. So first, we increase this value part. So we type score dot value. So score is this whole thing. Dot value is this part of it. So score.value, and if you're new to coding, this might seem weird, but I'm going to do plus equals 1. And this plus equal is a special way of adding 1 to something. We can't just do plus 1. We need to do plus equals 1. So it's like adding on 1 and getting the result. So this score.value will go up by 1. Or it could be 2, it could be 5, however many points you want to get for each food item. But I'll just keep it as 1 for now. So let's run this and see what happens. So I'm going to collect the apple, and nothing has happened. It still says score 0. Well, something happened in the background, but we can't see it. This value part has gone up by 1, but we can't see that. So we now need to show the score with the value. So let's come down here, and what we want to do now is the score.text. So this text part of the score, this is what we want to change. So the score.text becomes, well, I still want it to say score, and now what do I put here? I want to have this value showing next to the score. I can't just type 1 because it will only ever show 1. It will always be this number 1. I need it to show the value. And to do that, next to this, plus, this is not adding, this is not like adding up onto the score. This is like putting next to the score, score.value. So it will show this score, and then it will put the value next to it. Let's have a look at that in action. So over here, so I collect, and now it's score 1. So it's showing this part is this part here, and the value is being found from this value that was 0, but we added 1 to it. Let's try making this a 5. So I reload, starting at 0. This time when I collect, it's gone up by 5. So it's showing the score, and it's showing the value. Let me make it really clear what's happening here. I'm going to write new score. So if we reload, first it says score 0, because this is coming from here when we first set it up. Now after collecting, value will get 5 added, and will show new text. It will say new score with the value, which will be 5. So did I reload? I can't remember. Let me reload. I think it's reloaded. Come up here, and now it says new score 5. So you can see that this is coming directly from here. But I don't want it to keep saying new score every time. We'll just have it say score. And I'm going to take it back to 1 point each time as well. Great, so I've got a very simple game. Not the most fun game. We can collect 1 apple and get 1 point. And that's about all we can do in this game at the moment. What we want to do next is have lots of apples. So every time you collect 1 apple, another apple will appear somewhere else, and then you race over to collect that apple, and then you're racing all over the screen collecting all the apples. So next we'll look at how we can make a new apple every time we collect one.